never stops spinning. It takes you right back where you started each time, trapping you in an endless cycle that you can't escape. Unfortunately, this revolving door represents the hundreds of thousands of Americans stuck in the never-ending cycle of recidivism. For those of you who don't know what recidivism is, let me give you a clear definition. According to professor and criminologist Michael D. Maltz, whose novel titled Recidivism came out in 1984, he defines recidivism as the reversion of an individual to criminal behavior after he or she has been convicted of a prior offense, sentenced, and presumably corrected. In simpler terms, recidivism refers to a formerly incarcerated person's tendency to reoffend and ultimately end up back in prison. As an American aware and overwhelmed by the high rates of recidivism in this country, I am seeking a solution, and you should be too. The chronic problem of recidivism in the United States should be solved by guaranteed employment to people as they are preparing to leave prison. Today, I will be telling you why recidivism is a major problem, why guaranteed employment to people as they are leaving prison should be the solution to this problem, and why enacting this solution will build a better and safer world for everyone. To begin, let me tell you why recidivism is a major problem. According to Tenzing Ladin, author of the U.S. Department of Justice's analysis of recidivism rates in 2023, 82% of people released from state prison were rearrested within 10 years following arrest or release. Now, this statistic is staggering, especially when we consider the fact that over 650,000 people are released from state prisons each year. Ladin goes on to say that this statistic is higher in the United States than in any other democratic country in the world. Not only does this paint a poor picture of the United States, but it has a direct impact on all Americans. In 2020, Chara O'Neill Hayes, the Director of Human Welfare Policy at the American Action Forum, stated that the United States spends over $300 billion to incarcerate 2.2 million people each year. Now let me tell you, this cost is so high, especially when we consider the fact that this money comes directly from hard-earned taxpayer dollars that could be more productively used elsewhere. Now, you might be wondering how this problem came to be. Well, according to Liz Benedici, a Harvard research student whose article got published in the Harvard Political Review in 2021, the United States was focused on rehabilitating its inmates before the 1970s. However, in 1970, faulty studies by sociologist Robert Martinson came out stating that inmates were incapable of rehabilitation. Unfortunately, even though this data was proven to be faulty, it was believed by prison executives in the United States, which caused them to cut funding and efforts towards rehabilitation programs in most U.S. prisons, ultimately leading recidivism rates to skyrocket since the 1970s. Now that you know why recidivism is a major problem, let me tell you why guaranteed employment to people while they're leaving prison should be the solution to this problem. According to 2024 data from Stephanie Melhorn of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, she suggests that formerly incarcerated people with stable jobs are less likely to be reincarcerated compared to those without jobs. And see, this makes sense, because if you're released from prison with no resources to support you, what are you going to do? You're going to revert back to crime, which is what you know. Imagine this. After serving years of your life in prison, you're finally released, except you have no money, no job, and no one looking out for you. You don't even have the right to vote. So, when times get tough, as they inevitably will, what will you do to survive? You'll go back to the one thing you know, which is crime. But what if in this sea of hopelessness, someone were to throw you a lifeline? Someone were to offer you a job? Well, let me tell you, that would make all the difference. However, it's not that easy to obtain a job with a criminal record. According to Justin Stabley, a digital editor with PBS in 2021, formerly incarcerated people face an uphill battle to find full-time employment, facing administrative hurdles, social stigma, and emotional health issues from their time in prison. Employers resist hiring people with criminal records, but all this does is worsen rates of recidivism in the U.S. and worsen our economy. Now that you know about the solution to this problem, let me tell you why we should enact it to create a better and safer world for everybody. In 2022, Kelly Parker, an assistant public defender with the NCDA, said that even communities benefit when people with criminal records find good jobs. Poverty rates decrease, taxes are collected on their earned income, and families are strengthened as the collateral effects of incarceration are minimized. All of this can be achieved simply by ensuring that inmates have jobs lined up for them as they're preparing to leave prison. Picture this. With employment guaranteed to people as they're preparing to leave prison, we could be living in a country where we barely have to worry about crime. We wouldn't have to worry about our cars being stolen, our streets being vandalized. We can trust that our children are walking to school safely. Not only this, but our tax dollars could be better spent on things like public transportation, schools, or growing our economy. Implementing this system into U.S. prisons would mean legally requiring correctional counselors to aid inmates with the process of finding a job from the time they're in prison to the day of release. Understandably, you may be wondering how implementing a policy like this is fair, considering that there are so many law-abiding citizens who struggle to find work themselves. Well, according to consumer protection lawyer Vanessa B. in 2018, the reasons to proactively include people with criminal records into a jobs guarantee program is both moral and practical. Because by employing people with criminal records, we're empowering the rest of the workforce. She goes on to say that over 70 million Americans struggle to find work because of their criminal records. But instead of leaving these Americans out of the job pool, we should be hiring them and putting them in job guarantees programs as they're leaving prison. Because employment reduces recidivism, increases consumer spending, and expands the workforce for everyone. Instead of viewing this policy as a silly handout, we should be viewing it as a strategic investment in both public safety and economic growth. In conclusion, our next steps as Americans are clear. The chronic problem of recidivism in the United States should be solved by guaranteed employment to people as they're preparing to leave prison. It is clear that major reform needs to be done in our way of rehabilitating inmates. And the first step to this could be guaranteeing jobs for them as they're preparing to leave prison. Not to mention the fact that implementing this solution will make our country safer and more prosperous for everyone living here. The need is urgent, and the time to act is now. We can even get involved as members of the Clemson community ourselves by joining the Clemson Humanities Prison Initiative, a group of students and staff that work with local prisons to help inmates with the transition from prison to successful reentry in society. We here at Clemson can work in our own community to reduce rates of recidivism. I urge each and every single one of you to advocate for this solution, to stop the revolving door, to break this cycle, and to end recidivism forever. Thank you.